I'd like to help.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA 21-12671. Offices in Baton Rouge.
WNXX, Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers. LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge.
Hanny time. Hanny time. A daily look at sports from our resident historian. Your sports break during your lunch break. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. Here's Charles Sandegriff.
And a very good afternoon to you. Welcome to Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Sandegriff, Mario Jerez, Taylor Sharp with you here today. Hope that you enjoyed the weekend, although that might have been a little bit tough. I was out Friday. It feels like it has been a very, very, very long time since I was on the air. It was one of those long sports weekends, and then I had some personal affairs to take care of as well. So it does seem like it's been a minute. You guys have a nice weekend? Nobody hanging out with Stetson Bennett? Everybody okay there?
No, I think we were making better decisions. Had a pretty good weekend.
Yeah, I would say other than maybe the officials, nobody had a worse weekend than Stetson Bennett. Although, what do we not want to talk about? Well,
you don't like officiating.
I really don't like to talk about officiating all that much. It's counterproductive to living. It's the guy that sits there and screams at the raindrops. So it was a tough weekend if you were a Bengals fan because you come up just short of the Super Bowl. If you're an LSU basketball fan, that didn't go well. If you're a Pelicans fan, the wheels have come off here in the last few days. Not sure how to fix that. We'll probably get to that later on in the week. But it's something is awfully wrong there. But we start with the AFC Championship game, and the whole day yesterday, which was for me a highly anticipated day because these were two fantastic matchups. And in the first game, there's really not a ton to digest here. I could go through the number of ways Philadelphia dominated the game, but what's the point? When Brock Purdy went out of the game, that essentially was it. Was at a get-together yesterday, and when Josh Johnson comes in the game, they say, there were a lot of people there that are just kind of casual football fans. So who's Josh Johnson? I say he's a journeyman quarterback. He's been around the league a little bit. And so, well, where do you remember him playing? And I said, well, I sort of remember him playing for the Raiders, but maybe it was the Colts. And then somebody else says, no, he played for the Bengals, right? And somebody else says, no, he played for the Broncos. So at this point, we don't have to guess anymore. You look it up. Charlie, where's Josh Johnson, 36 years old, played in the league? You ready for this? He's played in Tampa, San Francisco, with the Sacramento Mountain Lions, whatever that is, Cleveland, Cincinnati, San Francisco again, Cincinnati again, the Jets, the Colts, the Bills, the Ravens, the Giants, the Texans, the Raiders, the Redskins, the San Diego Fleet, whatever that is, the Lions, the Los Angeles Wildcats, whatever that is, San Francisco again, the Jets again, the Ravens, the Broncos, and the 49ers again. There are journeymen, and then there is Josh Johnson. So it's kind of like a starting pitcher in baseball that has a lot of losses, right? You get these guys that are in the league, and their lifetime record is 25 and 48. It's like, man, are you good because you stayed in the league that long to accumulate that many losses, or are you bad because you lost that many games? With Josh Johnson, if I got to name you 17 teams, of which 3 I didn't even know existed, then chances are that you're probably not anybody's first, second, or third choice to be quarterbacking in the NFC Championship game, and he was not the first, second, or third choice of the San Francisco 49ers for sure. And then if you thought it couldn't get worse from there, he gets a concussion. Purdy goes back in, and he can't throw the ball. And when I say he can't throw the ball, I mean he can't throw the ball from where I'm sitting to the door of the studio, which is less than 10 yards. He can't throw it that far. So that game is pretty much over, and there's not really a whole lot you can do. If you have a quarterback that can't throw the ball, really can't throw the ball, not an inaccurate passer, not an inexperienced passer, he physically cannot lift his arm to throw the ball 10 yards, game's over. They could have gone, I guess, somebody asked, well, why wouldn't they go to McCaffrey or Samuel in the Wildcat? And I guess they could have, and that might have worked for a few plays. I think they did try that late in the game with McCaffrey, but how much realistically would they have practiced that? If Jimmy Garoppolo had been active yesterday, which there was no reason to activate him, he really couldn't play. Maybe he could have gone out there and at least thrown the ball 20 yards. Who cares? The league probably should take a look at that rule though and allow. They used to have what they called an emergency quarterback, and your third guy could dress. He didn't count against your roster, but the only way you could play him was if the other two quarterbacks had gone down. And if he went into the game, then the other two guys weren't eligible to come back. They probably ought to take a look at that rule again. Wouldn't be a bad idea. The rest of it, I thought that the Eagles were the better team going in, but I thought it was going to be a very competitive, highly physical game. It was a physical game, but it was anything but competitive. More interesting was the AFC Championship game. Can I do what sometimes what doctors do? They just want to rule when they're trying to diagnose something. They just want to rule some stuff out. So let me rule some stuff out that did not cost Cincinnati the game yesterday. Let me rule out the goofball mayor. Okay, was a bad look. Was no room for the tweet. He looked kind of silly doing it, and Travis Kelce called him out after the game. That didn't have anything to do with it. Okay, you can tell. Well. Man, after that Cincinnati mayor got after it, the Chiefs, they were locked in. Chiefs are going to Super Bowl. I think they were locked in before that. It makes for wonderful fodder after the game, but make no mistake, the Cincinnati mayor didn't have anything to do with it. The Burrowhead thing, that's a guy on the sideline celebrating with his guys. Again, didn't have anything to do with the game yesterday. Kansas City was going to be locked in, ready to go, and play a championship game to get themselves a Super Bowl, whether he had called it Burrowhead, Arrowhead, or a flat piece of ground. It didn't matter. Let me say also that I don't feel like there were bad calls yesterday. There were bad calls in that game. There were bad calls in the first game. There were some, curious coaching decisions. Like I still don't understand why Shanahan didn't challenge the fourth down catch by Devontae Smith early in the game. I mean, that was a huge, huge play. It gave Philadelphia first and goal. That was at a point in the game where, there was still a possibility that San Francisco could win. Purdy wasn't out of the game yet. So I don't know why he didn't challenge that. That would have been a big call. And there were certainly some bad calls. But Cincinnati did not lose the game because of a bad call. It was not a bad call on the late hit on Mahomes. Mahomes has got pretty much 2 feet in the white, and he gets hit out of bounds. Do I want to see the AFC Championship game decided on that? No, but you didn't leave the official any choice there. That is a call that has to be made every single time. It's going to be made every single time. You don't like the rule? You think the rules protecting quarterbacks are a little bit too lax? Or too strenuous, I should say, that's fine. But that has to do more with roughing the passer calls in the pocket or with a quarterback in the field to play. You get a quarterback out of bounds with 2 feet out of bounds, it's a penalty every single time. So they didn't lose because of that call. Were there other bad calls in the game somewhere? I don't like the fourth down, what should have been fourth down, where he's stretching the ball out and they give him that forward progress because they said he was being pulled back. I didn't care for that call, but they didn't lose the game because of that either. What I would pinpoint is 2 things. Number one, that Cincinnati, for all of the improvements they made on the offensive line from last playoffs to this playoffs, did not have the offensive line to be able to do the things they needed to do yesterday. Burrow did what he could. It wasn't his best game. It wasn't his worst game. But the man got beat up a little bit. Now, Chris Jones, I did on the podcast last week, would have gotten my vote for Defensive Player of the Year just ahead of Nick Bosa and Micah Parsons. Bosa will probably end up winning it, but I would have voted for Jones because he's a more disruptive pass rusher from inside than pretty much anybody in the game, save Aaron Donald when he's healthy. He was far and away the best interior defensive lineman in the league this year, and it wasn't probably the next best would have been Quinnen Williams. So there was no doubt that you got a great guy there, but Cincinnati did not have the offensive line to be able to give Burrow the time that he needed to put up the offensive numbers. The second thing is the plays at crunch time that Patrick Mahomes made. On one leg, basically, he didn't move a whole lot. The Patrick Mahomes that we all know wasn't there yesterday. But what was there was good enough. And when he absolutely, positively had to have it, great teams and great players aren't always great. They're just great when they have to be. Mahomes was great when he had to be. He made a play on fourth down to buy himself some time, find Kelsey for the touchdown. The last touchdown pass was a frozen rope. I don't know if he can plan on that thing or not, but that throw was a big-time top-end quarterback at the top of his game throw. There's not, every quarterback in the league can't make that throw. Probably less than half of the quarterbacks in the league can make that throw. He makes that throw. And then with the game on the line, he scrambles out. He makes, what would have been enough yardage, but he gets hit out of bounds, and it's a silly play by Cincinnati. But it's a play that Mahomes, he knows he's got to get out of bounds. He knows he's got to try and get up the field. I don't think that they would have tried the 60-yard field goal. I think they probably would have heaved one to the end zone. Butker's kick, after the 15-yard penalty, cleared the crossbar with a little bit of room to spare, but not a ton of room to spare. The wind was a big, big factor. So they probably don't try that. With 8 seconds to go, maybe they run it out and try to get him to where he's, a little bit closer. Maybe that would have worked. The point is Mahomes made the plays when he had to. I really did think, though, of all the time in that game, and it was a highly competitive game, but it wasn't a particularly well-played game by either one of these offenses for, the reasons I just gave you. Mahomes is playing on one leg. Kelsey's playing with a bulky back. All of their receivers are out. And Cincinnati's offensive line has got holes in it because of all of those injuries. So it wasn't a particularly sharp offensive game. It felt like both of these teams were kind of trying to outlast each other. But when Andy Reid made the decision to punt from inside the 40-yard line, I really thought, I said, you know what? Burrow's going to win this thing right here. And then they end up third. I said, you just don't give I understand it was a 4th and 8. It would have been a difficult conversion, and they couldn't kick from there because of the wind. But I said, you just don't punt the ball back to Burrow at this point in the game. He's going to win it. And then it was 3rd and 16. And he hits Hurst for the first down. And I'm sitting there by myself. I said, that's it. I said to the dog, hey, look, they're going to win this thing right here. And I was stunned, frankly, that they didn't from that point on. Before that, I thought the game was a coin flip. I said, it's going to be a one-possession game at the end, but it's going to be a one-possession game. If Cincinnati gets it inside of 2 minutes, Burrow's going to take them down, and they're going to score. He's reached a point in my level of expectations, and I think a lot of other people's level of expectation, that you're more surprised when it doesn't happen. But it was the same thing that happened to them in the Super Bowl last year. They had the ball. They had an opportunity to win it. And an interior defensive lineman wrecked the play. They had an opportunity to win this thing at the end, and an interior defensive lineman, I think he was actually spread out a little bit at that time, wrecked the play. So if you're Cincinnati, it's back to the drawing board with the offensive line. You bring the guys back that were playing well earlier in the year. I would replace Jonah Williams, but that's me. And, here are your free agent dollars. Here's your draft choice. Go put it in there because you've pretty much got everything else in place. You've got a fantastic young defense. You got a great defensive coordinator. For some reason, nobody wants to interview for any of the jobs that are open right now. You got a young quarterback. You're about to have to pay him, but you've got a terrific core there. Offensive line. We said the same thing last year. They went out, they improved it. Okay, do it again. Maybe next year you'll end up being in the Super Bowl. We'll take a break here. Thank you for being with us on this Monday afternoon. Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
We know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
Miller Lite has more taste and only 1 more calorie than Michelob Ultra.
Start your day with news and newsmakers. Start your day with traffic, weather, and local stories that are important to you. Kickstart your day every day.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. We'll recap the championship games and start to look ahead to Super Bowl 57 and the Tigers and Pels on the hardwood. Join us Monday, 3 to 6. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
SEC Big 12 challenge over the weekend. Big 12 was expected to dominate this, and they did, 7-3, which is what we picked on the podcast. Is it important if you say that the Big 12 is going to go 7-3 in the 10 games that you get the 7 games correct? Because I didn't do that. I just got the number right. Is it important when you're wagering? You know that you get the right ones. The ones we thought we would get right, Kansas State against Florida, and they won that game pretty easy. We liked West Virginia against Auburn. That was a game that West Virginia controlled most of the first 30 minutes or so, and then Auburn got into it late, and West Virginia had to hold them off. We liked Baylor against Arkansas. Thought that they would win that game easily. They did not. Ricky Council was fantastic for Arkansas. That was a very, very difficult game for Baylor to hold on and win. Thought that Kentucky would beat Kansas. Did not get that right. Kansas played probably their best game in three or 4 weeks in Lexington. And Kentucky really got away from Oscar Tshiebwe in that game. There were times where I think it was Billis was doing the game, was just begging, please, get the ball into the big guy, and they were just content to shoot way too many shots from the outside. Tennessee and Texas I thought would be a good game. I kind of like Texas with the points there. In Tennessee, that was a really, really strong performance because they were in control of that game pretty much from the outset. But the shocker of the day was Oklahoma. If you had told me that Oklahoma was going to beat Alabama, I said, well, okay, it's a road game and anything can happen. Oklahoma had a near Villanova-like performance in this game. And when I say a Villanova-like performance, I'm talking about the 85 Cats that pulled one of the biggest upsets in NCAA tournament history when they beat Georgetown. And Villanova missed, famously, one shot in the second half. One shot in 20 minutes of basketball in the national championship game. They missed one shot from the floor. Well, for a while there, it felt like Oklahoma was doing that. At one point, I'm looking on my phone like, when's the last time they missed a shot? They shot 69.2% from three-point range. They were 16-19 from the line, and they shot 58% from the floor. You can't shoot the ball any better than that. And this was against a team that has played with the very, very best in college basketball so far this season. They went to Houston and won. That remains one. That may be the best win in the NET that anybody in the net that anybody's got this year. They did that with Brandon Miller not making a shot from the floor. That to me, that's still the best win on the board all season. So it's not like Alabama. They played North Carolina. They played Gonzaga. It's not like they haven't seen top-flight competition, and it's not like they went up there and they got nipped on a shot at the horn. They got drilled. That was shocking to me. Of all of the things over the weekend, that might have been that you would tell me Alabama was going to get blown out by 24 points. I would have never figured that. For LSU, it was marginally better, but the same problems that have plagued this team plagued them again, which is an inability to score. And this time it wasn't early in the game, which has happened to them in the last couple of weeks where they've had the margin get away from them in the first half or maybe early in the second half. This time the scoring drought came in the last 8 minutes of the game where they didn't make a bucket from the 8.5-minute mark all the way to, I think it was 24 seconds or 26 seconds left in the game, by which time the issue had been decided. Texas Tech had an 8-point lead at the half, but LSU kind of fought themselves back into it. And at the 9-minute mark, you're like, okay, they got a chance to win here. They didn't score again, or they didn't make a shot from the field again until there was 24 seconds to go. Juice Hill coming back, played 9 minutes. They did manage to keep the turnovers down. That was better, but again, just marginally so as LSU loses again, 76-68. This was Matt McMahon following the loss to the Red Raiders.
I thought there were certainly some areas that were much improved for our program today. Come out the second half, able to get the lead, go up by 5 with 9 to play. I believe we held them to 10 points the first 11 minutes of the second half and did a good job from an execution standpoint. But then just some of the attention to detail, had some breakdowns, missed a free throw box out that led to a 3-point play, got us into some foul trouble. And then we weren't able to get stops down the stretch, and we weren't able to knock down shots. So credit to Texas Tech on the win.
at the 9-minute mark, you kind of felt like it was going to go down as a 2-possession game. Probably most of the rest of the way it got away from again because they couldn't score. He talks about there were some things that were better. Adam Miller was better in this game. He made 5 3-pointers. He had only made 5 3-pointers in the previous 5 games combined. So yes, it was better. He was 5 of 10 from 3-point range and 6 of 12 from the floor. So that was one bright spot.
Well, I thought he did a great job of freeing himself up. Was able to get 3 in transition. Was able to get a couple threes on the ball screen reads, and I hope it'll be a big step forward for him. He's really been competing at a high level. I think he's done a great job on the defensive end of the floor. It's good to see the ball go in the basket for him today.
So again, it's marginal improvement. Just you take what you can get because, again, this is likely to, again, it's going to get worse before it gets better. They got to go to Missouri. They are almost certain not to win there. Alabama's coming here. Probably won't be in the best mood. They're not going to win that game. Going to Mississippi State, I was impressed with Mississippi State. That was one of the best games I've only seen them play 2 or 3 times this year, but that was the best that I had seen so far. And then you get into some games maybe that you can win in the middle of the month, maybe South Carolina, maybe Vandy, maybe Ole Miss, maybe Georgia, maybe. But you're counting, just a handful of wins before this goes. I'll say it again. I feel like I could probably just put this on a recording and save myself the time. But again, your freshmen that you thought would come in and play really well aren't hardly playing at all. And that's probably what bothers me as much as anything about this team is that, hey, I understand you're building culture and I understand you're building habits and all of those things. I just don't know where the players are that you're counting on for next year's team. There's just not a lot of that where you go, okay, I see that guy getting better. He's going to be, I've said this 9 times. I mean, it's, I got no new fresh take. Okay. What's going to happen to them when they play Missouri this week? They're going to go through a long stretch where they don't score and they're going to, they're going to get beat. What's going to happen to them when Alabama comes in? They don't have the firepower to play Alabama. They just don't. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you can do to win a basketball game. You can keep your turnovers down. You can play good defense. You can rebound the basketball. But at some point, you got to put the ball in the hole. And they just don't do it enough times. And they don't do it well. We'll take a break. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Well, our friends over at Big Mike's, you know what Mondays mean? It means all-you-can-eat boiled shrimp from 5 p.m. to close. That's right, $15.99 for all-you-can-eat boiled shrimp every Monday night. So we got that going. Of course, live music Thursday. It's Swamp Pop. There's by the way, going to be dance lessons. Mario, you heading out there? Dance lessons. We got Jitterbug dance lessons and DJ K-Jack on Saturday. It's High Water and Petty Betty. That's your music lineup this week at Big Mike's. Of course, Big Mike's going to be the Grand Marshal of Denham Springs Mardi Gras Parade. That's on February the 11th. So head on by the restaurant for a meal and a cocktail and go out to the parade and say hello to Big Mike's. Right there on Aspen Boulevard in the heart of Denham Springs, Big Mike's, we're kind of a big deal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Moon Griffon is back. The voice of Louisiana politics makes his return to Baton Rouge. Catch the Moon Griffon Show weekdays from 9 to 11 a.m. on Talk 107.3.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
We know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
All right, let's say ah.
Where'd my spotlight go?
Super weird, but we can take care of it.
Get in and get better at Patient Plus.
Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff, the Monday edition of Game Time. We're live at Finbom on Burbank and Lee, right next to Rouse's, recapping the conference championship games. Looking forward to the Super Bowl. It's Game Time, 6 to 8 p.m. Monday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
We're looking forward to the Super Bowl. We're looking ahead to the Super Bowl. I think I'm looking ahead to the Super Bowl. I don't know that this is these were the two number one seeds. We haven't had that in a few years. And I think we will agree that neither one of these teams down the stretch had all of their people. I mean, everybody's a little bit beat up by that time of the season, but Jalen Hurts, missed some time. Mahomes didn't miss very much time, save the one long drive that Hanny had, but he's not himself. The really surprising thing on Sunday morning was when they started talking about Kelsey maybe not being able to play, that his back had not reacted. And I was like, look, I'll believe Travis Kelce's not going to play when I see the Kansas City Chiefs go out there without him. And, of course, he played. They were so concerned about him taking shots that they ran a hook and lateral play in inside of about the 25-yard line, I believe. The ball hits the ground in Kansas City. I was like, wow, okay, there's something you don't see all that often from the Chiefs, is some kind of play where they want to get the ball out of Kelsey's hands. No, you don't see that very often. But the two number 1 seeds got it. I think if the Chiefs and the Bengals played 10 times, they'd probably split them. If everybody was healthy, I think they would probably split them. If they had equal injuries, I think they would probably split them. I think they're very, very comparable teams. A whole lot was made out of the 3-game win streak that Burrow had over Mahomes. They won those games by 3 points apiece. I mean, any of them could have gone the other way. This game was a 3-point game. If the late hit out of bounds doesn't occur and they go to overtime, I mean, it's still a coin flip. You got the new overtime rules would have gone into effect to make sure that both teams get a possession, even if there's a touchdown scored. So we would have, maybe got a chance to see that. But it's still going to be a coin flip game. The Eagles and the Niners, I think, is probably, if Purdy plays the whole time, is probably a coin flip game. Having watched the game between those two, I don't feel like I learned anything. I mean, if you'd have told me yesterday morning, hey, guess what? Brock Purdy's not going to be able to throw the ball 10 yards and the backup quarterback's going to have a concussion. I could have figured that the game was going to get away from San Francisco. But if they play, again, they play straight up every time, I think it's probably a split. It's probably, a 5-5 split, maybe a 6-4 split, but I think it's probably 5-5 because those two teams were very evenly matched. You throw in those injuries, and, then it becomes a no contest. We had a lot of discussion about what the point spread was going to be in the Super Bowl, and famously it was going to be, no matter what the matchup was, it was going to be under 2 points. It was going to be 1 or 1.5, and now we've got a 1.5 point spread for Philadelphia. Right this second, that feels about right to me. I think that the Eagles are slightly better than the Chiefs. If it went to 2 or 2.5, I could see that. I don't think it'll get past 3. If it gets to 3, more than likely there'll be some Chiefs money coming back. Philadelphia, I don't know that Philadelphia is better than Kansas City if all things are equal, but all things aren't equal. I know that Mahomes gutted it out yesterday, but he's still not at 100%. I don't know what Kelsey's back's going to look like in 2 weeks. Certainly the extra week is going to help those guys, but Philadelphia looks like the healthier of the two teams, and that makes all the difference. Jalen Hurts, to me, if I wouldn't have known that he was hurt at the end of the regular season, I would not have ever suspected it. He didn't look compromised at any point in the divisional series. In the divisional game, he did not look in any way compromised yesterday. So the Eagles, in my opinion, are a 1 or 2 point favorite here, 1 to 2 point favorite based mostly on health. That would be the edge. If Mahomes and Kelsey were 100% or as 100% as you can be in February, I'd make this game a straight picket. The 1.5 points basically goes to the health of the NFC team. What else surprised you besides the lateral? There was some talking to Bayou for chat about the call and how you don't want to have this. I've heard this a lot. And look, I was aggravated because I was pulling for the Bengals. Like, do you really want to see that call made at that point in the game? Think of it this way. You say, well, the officials should just swallow the whistle at that point. That's what they did in New Orleans. That's what they did in the Dome in 2018. They swallowed the whistle. We don't want this game to be decided on a pass interference call. And you know what? It should have been decided on a pass interference call. I'm not delighted that the game came down to this, that the guy makes a silly play, but you can't – this was not a close call. I mean, he is way out of bounds. You can't just say, well, we're not gonna call that because it's the last 2 minutes or the last minute of the AFC Championship game. If it happened the other way, Burrow gets hit out of bounds, then would you say, well, you're not supposed to call that? No. You gotta kind of let your emotions subside just a little bit and say, hey, is that something that you're supposed to call? Far more egregious, I don't like to talk about officiating, but this is more of a procedure thing. Was there was a 3rd and 9 in the second half where Mahomes throws a pass to Kelsey that is well short of the first down. And they went through the whole play. Nobody ever stopped. And then they come back and they say, well, that play wasn't supposed to happen because we blew the whistle. Well, if you blew the whistle, you're the only ones that heard it because none of the players heard it. Nobody on the sidelines heard it. The announcers in the booth didn't hear it, and you couldn't hear it on TV. So they run this whole play. They stop them, and you got to go, and you got to have a do-over. Why are you – it's the AFC Championship game. Why are we going to have a do-over? See, that's something where I can stop. I can criticize the officiating. That's not a judgment call. That is an error in procedure. If you blow the whistle and nobody stops, blow it again. Get in there, wave your arms, blow the play, call the play dead. Have the umpire run in from, behind and wave his arms. Stop the play or somebody's going to get hurt. And then, of course, they run the play again in the do-over, and Cincinnati gets the stop. And then what happens? They throw a flag in the secondary. I was tired of seeing the lead official. I was tired of seeing the white hat yesterday. Believe me. But so those kind of things, that is much more of a criticism of the officials than saying, don't make that call at the end of the game because it's the end of the game. No, I don't think that you can do that. For you Bengals fans, and I know there's a lot of you out there, there's no reason that this team can't be back in the AFC Championship game of the Super Bowl next year. My thing is they need to improve that offensive line some more, even at full strength. It's still not one of the stronger units in the league. They were a lot better than they were last year. Still a long way to go. They need some help in the secondary. They could use another corner. I think they're going to re-sign Jesse Bates, so that clears up one of your safety problems. But you got to go find another corner. But the biggest thing is, what are you going to do with Joe Burrow's contract? You're going to extend him. The question becomes how. And I heard an interesting solution to this, which was he may end up taking a percentage of the salary cap. And it would be somewhere probably in the 15 to 18%. That's where the top-level quarterbacks are going. And as the cap goes up, Burrow's salary goes up, and the cap goes up every year. But he never ends up taking – it's actually a very fair deal for both sides, and it allows for team building. Because when you do it like that, you have a fixed percentage cost to your cap, but you don't have one of those balloon years like what happened to the Falcons with Matt Ryan. They had so much money that he ended up counting, I think it was over $40 million in dead money when they finally moved him. You don't end up with a quarterback taking up 25 to 28% of your salary cap. It ends up being much, much lower than that. But it also compensates the player, and it increases his salary every year. The Bengals are going to be a fascinating test case because not only is it going to be Burrow, they've got to extend T. Higgins. They've got to extend Logan Wilson, who's a very, very good linebacker for them. This is the costs of having a great draft like they did in 2020. When those rookie contracts come due, you got to pay everybody at one time, and then next year you got to pay Jamar Chase. How great was the play on 4th down where he throws it up, Chase goes up and gets it? When they made that play, I thought they were going to win the game. There were a lot of places yesterday in the game where I thought Cincinnati was going to win. None more so than the 3rd and 16 play to Hurst. And so you convert on 3rd and 16 from deep in your own territory in the AFC Championship game in the last couple of minutes against the Chiefs, you are going to win the game. And they didn't. It was very, very surprising to me. We'll take a break, come back, take some of your questions in the Bayou Ford chat. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge. Offering right now here is we open the first month of 2023, 3.9% APR financing on most of the models on the lot. Loyalty cash on the MDX and the TLX is $1,000, coming back 2-year, 24,000-mile complimentary scheduled maintenance on all of your 2023 models. Large certified pre-owned selection, 7 years or 100,000-mile powertrain coverage. Roadside assistance is available here on your certified pre-owns. It's a fantastic feature to have for your older drivers or your younger drivers. If you've got a engine problem or you've got a tire that needs to be serviced on the side of the road, you got that included in your package. Your first scheduled maintenance is free, and your complimentary service vehicle while your vehicle is being taken care of. Transparency and pricing and a family atmosphere, all part of the service at Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
We know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward.
AFC Championship games and look ahead to the Super Bowl.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's a little bit of a level of frustration in the control room here today. I think all of us wanted to see the Bengals win. Mario's a dedicated Pelicans fan, so this is the bad time for him. And Taylor's over there saying he's trying to defend Dak Prescott, which is
no.
Are you?
I'm anti-Dak Prescott.
You're anti-Dak Prescott. Okay, so apparently in the Bayou 4 chat, catch me up. I was able to read a couple of them. There, first of all, those asking about Jimmy's tweets at the end of last night. I did not watch the game with Jimmy. I did sense a level of frustration that he had given the tone and some of the language in the tweets. I don't think he was particularly happy.
Oh my goodness, I'm just seeing it now.
Yeah, he was a little steamed. I think. Well, I'm doing the show with him tonight, so I'm going to get an earful about this, I'm sure. But I know he liked the Bengals in the game. But all right, Taylor, tell me what you are trying to defend here.
They got to be trolling me. There's no way somebody actually believes that because Dak is third in passing yards at the Cowboys that he's about to be the best quarterback in Cowboys history. That's just that's insane.
No. The best quarterback in Cowboys
Charlie,
history is Rodgers.
Romo better than Troy Aikman and Roger Staubach?
No.
He has more passing yards than both of them.
The game is much different.
Yes, I understand.
You look at some of the statistics of Hall of Fame quarterbacks compared to modern day, and I could give you a lot of examples, but I'll just give you this one. Neither one of you guys saw Johnny Unitas play, and neither really did I, other than just when I was a very young person at the very end of his career when he wasn't Johnny Unitas anymore. But everybody knows who Johnny Unitas is, right? For a long time, probably until him and Otto Graham, until Joe Montana came along, were largely considered the two best quarterbacks in NFL history. I mean, over probably a 4 to 5 decade span, Johnny Unitas was the best quarterback, considered the best quarterback of all time. And he's still in the discussion if you want to talk about it. Aaron Brooks, yes, that Aaron Brooks had a higher passer rating than Johnny Unitas.
Well, he's better then, right?
Exactly. So if you want to talk about skewed numbers, okay, Terry Bradshaw, everybody knows who Terry Bradshaw is, and I am old enough to have seen Bradshaw play in his prime, threw exactly 2 more touchdown passes than interceptions in his career. You can skew numbers, okay? Troy Aikman was fantasy football guys know this. If you played fantasy football in the 1990s, before the game got hugely popular, Troy Aikman was not draftable. I mean, he was, because they were such a run-based team. So you would see, the big plays to Irvin or to Alvin Harper or to Jay Novacek or whatever, but those Cowboys were based largely in the running of Emmitt Smith and the best offensive line in football for a long time. So if you go back and look on a year-by-year basis, Aikman probably wasn't in the top 5 as far as passing yards very many times in his career, but went in the Hall of Fame in a walk because the guy won 3 Super Bowls, and when they needed a big play, Troy Aikman made plenty of them. But he didn't pile up a bunch of passing yards. He didn't pile up a bunch of stats. Joe Namath, okay, threw more interceptions than touchdowns. You can't look at some of those stats and say that. For my money, Staubach is the best quarterback in the history of that franchise, and Aikman is second. And after that, you can debate the Tony Romos and the Danny Whites and Dak Prescott's all you want. I'll ask you the same question I ask everybody that says get rid of your quarterback. You like Kyler Murray? No, man, they ought to get rid of him. Who are you going to bring in? You like Dak Prescott? No, man, they ought to get rid of him. Who are you going to bring in? You like Geno Smith in Seattle? Nah, man, they shouldn't give him a long-term contract. Okay, who are you going to bring in? The Jets are going to, are rupturing themselves to bring in Aaron Rodgers, who's 39 years old and could quit tomorrow. Nobody would be. Who are you going to bring in? The Falcons. Well, we got to get rid of Matt Ryan, and Ryan it was time for him to retire. Who are you going to bring in? The Saints. It's time for Drew Brees to retire, and it was. Who are you going to bring in? Washington was sick of Kirk Cousins, right? We're not going to pay you. We're not going to pay you. We're not going to pay you. They've been looking for a quarterback since he left. The Titans are dying to get rid of Ryan Tannehill. And what happened when he went out at the end of the season? They couldn't move the ball from here to there. And they drafted a quarterback high. You want to get rid of Dak Prescott? Be my guest. What are your options? What are your alternatives? I do this. We do this on the night show from time to time. It's kind of like an either or thing. If you had to win a game, you're Dallas Cowboys, Taylor, and you had Dak Prescott or Derek Carr, who you want?
Oh, Derek Carr, easily.
Okay. You're the New York Giants. You want to win a game, Daniel Jones or Derek Carr?
Probably Carr.
But it's close, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a slam dunk. The Raiders, we got to get rid of Derek Carr. Fine. Who's going to be quarterback there next year? Jarrett Stidham? This whole get rid of the quarterback. Fine. What are you going to get? Cleveland had this particular problem for 2 decades, and then they finally got a quarterback in Carson Palmer, and he got hurt. So they extend this draft capital to Baker Mayfield, and that blew up in their face. So they had to overextend and give overvalue on a contract to Deshaun Watson, who came with all of this bag and stuff like that. Saying you're going to get rid of the quarterback is fine. Saying that without having a backup plan, I don't know where Carolina's looking for a quarterback. Chicago's been looking for a quarterback for 2 decades now. They paid a whole bunch of money for Jay Cutler. That didn't work. High draft choice. Justin Fields going to work out. He's making some progress. Wouldn't hurt anything if they'd go draft a wide receiver and maybe a running back, give him a playmaker or two to work with. So do I think Dak Prescott is, the long-term answer? I don't know. I just know he's better than a lot of the alternatives that are out there. By the way, Kellen Moore took the job with the Chargers a little while ago, Dallas's former offensive coordinator. Thanks to everybody for participating today. Stay tuned for Hunt Palmer. This has been Handy Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.